64 red dots surrounded the station on the tactical display like hungry predators circling wounded prey. Fleet Admiral Yessa pressed her scaled hand against the cold glass of the screen and counted them again, hoping the number would change. It did not. Daranath Station floated behind her small fleet, a massive ring of metal and light that housed 2.3 million refugees from 12 different species. Mothers, children, the old and the sick. All of them had fled the Dominion War seeking safety in neutral space. All of them now faced death. Admiral, Overseer Drell is broadcasting again, said Lieutenant Cora, her blue antennae twitching with fear. Yessa nodded. Put him through. The face of a Dominion commander filled the main screen. Overseer Drell had the appearance of a stretched shadow given form, with eyes like burning coals and a mouth full of needle teeth. He smiled, and the expression held no warmth. Admiral Yessa, Drell said, you have 6 hours to surrender the station. Every refugee will be processed for service to the Dominion. Resist, and we will reduce that station to dust. You have 12 ships. I have 64. The mathematics are simple. Those are civilians, Yessa replied, keeping her voice steady. Non-combatants under galactic protection laws. Drell laughed. Laws are written by the powerful. Today, that is me. 6 hours, Admiral. Choose wisely. The transmission ended. Yessa turned to face her bridge crew. 15 officers looked back at her with expressions ranging from terror to grim acceptance. Her tactical officer, Lieutenant Cora, was running calculations on her console. How long until the nearest Allied fleet can reach us? Yessa asked. 18 hours, Admiral. Minimum. 18 hours. The number felt like a death sentence. They needed to hold for 18 hours with 12 damaged ships against 64 fresh warships. It was impossible. What about civilian evacuation? Cora shook her head. The station's transport ships could carry maybe 50,000 people, and the Dominion would destroy them before they cleared the perimeter. Yessa closed her 4 eyes and breathed deeply. She had served in the Valorian Compact Navy for 40 years. She had faced pirates, rebels, and hostile nations. But she had never faced odds like this, and she had never been responsible for so many innocent lives. Admiral, said her communications officer, the Civilian Council is requesting to speak with you. They want to know if we can negotiate. There is no negotiation with the Dominion, Yessa replied. They don't take prisoners. They take slaves. Silence fell over the bridge. Everyone knew she was right. Dominion processing was a polite word for a terrible fate. Those who survived it wished they had not. Yessa walked to the front of the bridge and stared out at the enemy fleet. 64 ships, bristling with weapons, crewed by soldiers who knew nothing of mercy. Her own fleet was tired, damaged from previous engagements, and running low on power cells. They could fight. They could even take some of the enemy with them. But they could not win. Broadcast on all frequencies, she ordered. Emergency distress call. Anyone within range. We need help. Cora obeyed, and Yessa's plea went out into the darkness of space. She did not expect an answer. Help was too far away. The galaxy was too big and too empty. Minutes passed like hours. The Dominion fleet held position, patient as vultures. Yessa watched the countdown timer on her screen. 5 hours and 42 minutes until the deadline. Admiral, Cora's voice cracked with sudden intensity. I'm detecting an anomaly at the edge of the system. A ship just dropped out of faster-than-light travel. Yessa's hearts beat faster. Identification. Cora's fingers flew across her console. Her blue skin went pale. Single vessel. Military configuration. The transponder is broadcasting a single word. What word? Cora looked up, her eyes wide with something between hope and terror. Human. The bridge fell completely silent. Every officer stopped moving. Even the constant hum of the ship's systems seemed to quiet. Yessa had never seen a human ship in person. Few beings in this sector had. Humans came from a distant world called Earth, a planet so dangerous that its own inhabitants called it a death world. Everything on that planet wanted to kill everything else. And somehow, humans had not only survived but conquered it. Stories about humans spread across the galaxy like warnings passed between children. They did not retreat. They did not surrender. They fought until they won or died, and even death sometimes failed to stop them. Their bodies could heal from wounds that would kill other species. Their minds could push through pain that would drive others to madness. The Dominion fleet is adjusting formation, Cora reported, her voice shaking. They're pulling back from the station, creating a defensive perimeter. Yessa watched the red dots on her display shift and cluster. The predators had sensed something more dangerous than themselves that on the main screen, Overseer Drell's face appeared again. His confidence had cracked. What is this? What ship is that? Yessa allowed herself a small smile. It appears, Overseer, that someone answered our call. Through the viewport, a distant speck of light grew larger as it approached at impossible speed. A human warship. One ship against 64. The smart thing would be to run. No single vessel could stand against those numbers. But humans, Yessa remembered, were not known for doing the smart thing. They were known for doing the impossible. What is a human warship doing this far from their territory? Cora whispered. Yessa did not answer. She watched the approaching ship and felt something she had forgotten in the last few hours: hope. The training academy on Valoria had a room that cadets called the Fear Chamber. Inside, instructors showed footage of the galaxy's most dangerous threats: pirates, void beasts, Dominion shock troops. But the footage that made cadets lose sleep was always saved for last. Yessa remembered sitting in that dark room 30 years ago, watching a recording of human soldiers fighting on a jungle world. The enemy had outnumbered them 10 to 1. The humans had won anyway, adapting to the terrain, setting traps, fighting through injuries that should have killed them. Her instructor, an ancient Peloran with 3 missing limbs, had stood before the class and spoken words that Yessa never forgot. Pray you never face them. Pray harder that you never need their help. Now, watching the human ship grow larger on her display, Yessa understood what her instructor meant. Needing human help meant your situation had become truly desperate. The ship is identifying itself, Cora announced. USS Relentless. Defender Class Heavy Cruiser. Captain Diana Okonkwo commanding. A channel opened, and a human face appeared on screen. Captain Okonkwo had dark skin and short gray hair. Her eyes held the calm focus of a predator assessing its hunting ground. She did not look afraid. She did not even look concerned. This is Captain Diana Okonkwo of the Earth Coalition vessel Relentless, she said. Raneth Station is now under our protection. Dominion forces will withdraw immediately or face the consequences. Overseer Drell's image appeared beside hers as he forced his way into the communication channel. One ship. He laughed, but the sound was hollow. You bring one ship against 64? This is not bravery, human. This is suicide. Okonkwo smiled. It was not a friendly expression. Overseer, I'm giving you one chance to leave. I won't give you another. You humans truly are insane. All ships, attack formation. Destroy that vessel. The channel closed. On Yessa's tactical display, the Dominion fleet began to move toward the Relentless like a wave of metal and death. Admiral, Cora said quietly, I've been reviewing classified files on human military engagements. You should see this. She transferred data to Yessa's personal screen. The Admiral began to read, Battle of Proxima. 3 human vessels against 40 pirate ships. Human losses, moderate damage to all 3 ships. Pirate losses, complete destruction, siege of New Geneva. Human ground forces held a defensive position for 93 days against continuous assault. No resupply, no reinforcements. They held until relief arrived, then immediately volunteered for the counterattack. Every file contained the same warning label in red text. Extreme caution advised. Human forces do not retreat. Human forces do not surrender. Human forces do not stop. Yessa looked up at the main screen. The Relentless was not running. It was not seeking cover. It was accelerating directly toward the Dominion fleet. Are they insane? One of her officers whispered. No, Yessa replied slowly. They're human. There's a difference. The first Dominion ships opened fire. Plasma bolts and kinetic rounds filled the space around the Relentless. Any normal ship would have been torn apart in seconds. The human ship's shields flared bright blue, absorbing impact after impact. They held. That's impossible, Cora breathed. Their shields are operating at 300% of theoretical maximum. Our best engineers said that kind of efficiency couldn't be achieved. Someone forgot to tell the humans, Yessa said. The Relentless began to fire back. Its weapons were unlike anything Yessa had seen. Railgun slugs traveled so fast they were invisible, punching through Dominion shields like they weren't there. Plasma lances carved through hull metal like cutting through soft bread. And something else, something that looked like contained antimatter, detonated against enemy ships with devastating effect as a Dominion cruiser exploded. Then another. Then three more in rapid succession. But it was not just the weapons that made Yes's blood run cold. It was how the ship moved. Human pilots did not fly the way other species flew. They took risks that should have killed them. They pushed their vessel into maneuvers that should have torn it apart. They anticipated enemy attacks before they happened and moved to positions that seemed random until suddenly they were perfect. They fly like predators, Cora said, her voice barely above a whisper. Like hunters. Because they are, Yessa replied. Humans evolved on a world where everything wanted to kill them. They became the deadliest thing on their planet by being smarter, more adaptable, and more stubborn than anything else. 8 Dominion ships were now debris. 4 more were crippled and drifting. The battle had been going for 10 minutes. Overseer Drell's voice came through on an open channel, screaming orders to his fleet. Concentrate fire. All ships focus on that vessel. Destroy it. The Dominion fleet tightened formation, directing every weapon at the Relentless. The human ships' shields began to flicker under the concentrated assault. Even human technology had limits. Then Captain Okonkwo's face appeared on Yes's screen. The human was still smiling, but now there was an invitation in her expression. Admiral Yessa, she said calmly, I'd appreciate some backup now. Even wolves need their packs sometimes. Yessa looked at her tired fleet. 12 damaged ships. Exhausted crews. Minimal weapons charge. Then she looked at the station behind her. 2.3 million innocent lives. All ships, she ordered, attack formation Delta. Follow the human's lead. 12 ships answered Yessa's command and surged forward into the fire. Her crew had been afraid moments ago. Now they cheered as they charged toward an enemy that outnumbered them. The sight of one human ship tearing through the Dominion fleet had changed something in them. Fear had become fury. Despair had become determination. The Relentless adjusted its pattern instantly as the Valorian fleet joined the battle. Captain Okonkwo did not issue commands. She offered suggestions, treating Yessa as an equal rather than a subordinate. Together, they formed a spear of ships with the Relentless at the tip and the Valorian vessels protecting its flanks. Their coordination is remarkable, Cora said, her fingers dancing across her console as she tracked the battle. The human ship adapts to our movements in real time. It's like they can read our intentions. Yessa nodded. Human military doctrine emphasized flexibility above all else. Where other species train their soldiers to follow orders precisely, humans train their soldiers to think, adapt, and overcome. Every human warrior was taught to be a leader if necessary that a Dominion destroyer tried to flank the formation. The Relentless spotted it before any of Yessa's ships did and sent a railgun slug through its engine core. The destroyer spun away, dead in space. 12 more enemy ships destroyed, Cora reported. 15 damaged. The Dominion is down to 37 combat-effective vessels. 37 against 13. The odds were still terrible, but they were improving. More importantly, the Dominion fleet was starting to show signs of panic. Their formations were becoming sloppy. Their fire was less coordinated. They had expected an easy victory against a refugee station, not a fight against a human warship that a section of the Relentless took a direct hit. Yessa watched as a portion of the human ship's hull was breached, exposing the interior to the vacuum of space. They've taken critical damage, one of her officers said. They should be sealing off that section. But the humans did not seal off the section. Instead, Yessa's sensors detected movement near the breach. Human repair crews were charging toward the hole in their ship, wearing nothing but emergency vacuum suits. What are they doing? Cora asked in disbelief. Yessa watched as the humans reached the breach and began welding it closed. They worked in the vacuum of space, exposed to enemy fire, with plasma bolts exploding around them. One of them was hit by debris and knocked away from the hull. Another human grabbed him with one hand, while continuing to weld with the other. They're repairing their ship, Yessa said slowly. In the middle of battle. In hard vacuum. That's suicide. No, that's human. The breach was sealed in 4 minutes. The repair crew returned inside, and the Relentless did not slow down for even a moment. Cora turned to Yessa with wide eyes. Admiral, I intercepted some of their internal communications. You need to hear this. She played the audio. Human voices filled the bridge, and Yessa expected to hear screaming, panic, or desperate prayers. Instead, she heard laughter. "That's 12 for me," a male voice said. "You're falling behind, Rodriguez. I had to fix the hull breach, you cheater. That should count as extra. Doesn't count unless it explodes." "Fine. Watch this." A Dominion frigate on Yessa's display suddenly lost power and began to drift. Seconds later, it detonated. 13. The voice called Rodriguez said smugly. Yessa stared at her screen. The humans were making bets. They were joking with each other. They were treating the deadliest battle of their lives like a game. Another intercepted transmission played. A different voice, deeper and annoyed. "This is engineering. Can someone tell the bridge to stop with the hard maneuvers? I'm trying to eat my lunch down here, and my sandwich keeps floating away." "We're in combat, Chief." "I know we're in combat. I can hear the explosions. But a man needs to eat. Some of us have been on duty for 16 hours. Yessa turned off the audio. She did not know whether to be impressed or terrified. Probably both. The battle continued to shift. Working together, the combined fleet was pushing the Dominion back. The Relentless served as the hammer while Yessa's ships formed the anvil. Enemy vessels were caught between them and crushed. But the Dominion still had numbers. For every ship that fell, 2 more pressed the attack. The Relentless was taking damage faster than its crews could repair it. Yessa's own ships were running dangerously low on power. "Admiral," Cora said suddenly, "the Dominion fleet is changing formation. They're pulling back." Yessa felt a surge of hope. "Are they retreating?" "No." Cora's voice dropped. "They're forming a defensive screen around something behind that moon. I'm detecting a massive power signature." The moon shifted in Yessa's display as sensors penetrated its shadow. Behind it, hidden until now, sat a Dominion dreadnought, the largest class of warship in the Dominion fleet, and its main weapon was charging. "What is that weapon?" Yessa demanded. Cora's hands trembled as she read the data. "Planet Killer class energy beam. It's not targeting us, Admiral. It's targeting the station." Overseer Drell's voice broadcast across all channels, dripping with spite. "If I cannot have those refugees, no one will. Say goodbye to your precious civilians, Admiral." Yessa watched the dreadnought's weapon charge toward full power. For minutes until it fired. For minutes until 2.3 million innocent people died. Then Captain Okonkwo's face appeared on screen. The human was no longer smiling. Her expression had become something hard and cold and absolutely terrifying. "Admiral," she said quietly, "keep the fleet busy. I'm going to deal with that dreadnought." The Relentless broke formation and accelerated toward the moon at maximum speed. The Relentless moved like a creature possessed. Its engines burned so hot they glowed white, pushing the ship beyond every safety limit its designers had ever imagined. Plasma vented from overloaded systems, leaving a trail of fire behind it as it raced toward the hidden dreadnought. Yessa watched her tactical display with growing horror. The dreadnought's planet killer weapon needed 4 minutes to charge. The Relentless was 3 minutes away at maximum speed. That left zero margin for error. "All ships, engage the remaining Dominion forces," Yessa ordered. "Keep them away from the human vessel." Her fleet obeyed, throwing themselves at the Dominion ships with desperate fury. They did not need to win. They just needed to buy time. The Dominion understood what was happening. Overseer Drell screamed commands, ordering his ships to intercept the Relentless at any cost. Vessels broke formation and raced to cut off the human ship's path. The first interceptor reached firing range and opened up with everything it had. The Relentless did not slow down. It did not evade. It flew straight through the barrage, shields flaring and failing under the assault, and returned fire with its remaining weapons. The interceptor exploded, and the Relentless flew through the debris cloud without stopping. A second ship moved to block. The Relentless hit it with a railgun slug that punched through its reactor core. The ship died before its crew knew they were under attack point. 3 more Dominion vessels closed in from different angles. The Relentless could not dodge all of them. It took hit after hit, armor plates tearing away, interior sections breaching, but it kept going. Always forward, never slowing. "Their hull integrity is at 40%, Cora reported, her voice cracking. 35, 30. They cannot take much more." Yessa gripped the railing in front of her so hard her scales cracked. "Come on," she whispered. "Come on." On the main screen, Captain Okonkwo's face remained calm. blood ran from a cut on her forehead, and her bridge was filled with smoke and sparking consoles. But she did not waver. Relentless to Raneth Station, she broadcast on an open channel. Whatever happens in the next 2 minutes, you're going to be okay. That's a promise. The station's civilian council responded, their voices overlapping with fear and gratitude. Okonkwo did not acknowledge them. Her attention was fixed on the moon growing larger in her viewport. 90 seconds until the planet killer fired. The Relentless was 60 seconds away. More Dominion ships caught up. They swarmed the human vessel like insects attacking a wounded animal. The Relentless was burning now, flames licking from multiple breaches despite the vacuum of space. Its shields were gone. Its weapons were failing. It had become a missile made of determination and rage. 50 seconds to weapon discharge, Chorus said. 30 seconds to intercept, another officer added. Yessa did the math. 20 seconds. The humans would reach the dreadnought with 20 seconds to spare. But in the condition the Relentless was in, 20 seconds might as well be 20 years. The dreadnought's defenders formed a final wall between the human ship and its target. 5 heavy cruisers, fresh and undamaged, positioned to tear apart anything that tried to pass. They won't make it, someone on Yessa's bridge said. The Relentless did not try to fight through the blockade. Instead, it did something that made Yessa's heart stop. The IT accelerated. The ship pushed its engines past every possible limit. Metal groaned. Systems exploded. The Relentless was tearing itself apart from the inside, burning its own structure for fuel, converting itself into a weapon. IT hit the blockade at a speed that should have been impossible. The 5 cruisers opened fire, but the Relentless was moving too fast. It blew through their formation like a spear through paper, taking terrible damage but not stopping. The dreadnought filled the viewport. Its planet-killer weapon glowed with building energy, seconds away from firing. Captain Okonkwo gave her final order. Her voice was steady and clear and absolutely fearless. All hands, brace for impact. It has been an honor. The Relentless did not fire its weapons. It did not try to target the dreadnought's weak points. Instead, Captain Okonkwo aimed her broken, burning ship directly at the planet-killer array and rammed it at full speed. The collision was visible from Yessa's position millions of kilometers away. A flash of light brighter than the local star. An explosion that consumed both ships in a sphere of destruction. The planet killer detonated before it could fire, its energy turning inward and tearing the dreadnought apart from the inside. When the light faded, there was nothing left but debris. Silence fell across every ship in the system. Dominion and Valorian alike stared at their screens in shock. The Relentless was gone. The humans had sacrificed themselves to save a station full of strangers. Yessa felt tears running down her scaled face. She had watched many brave beings die in her long career, but she had never seen anything like this. 400 humans had given their lives for 2.3 million people they had never met. Admiral, Cora whispered, I'm detecting something in the debris field. What? A signal. Weak and broken, but it's there. It's a distress beacon. Yessa stared at her screen. Through the cloud of destruction, a shape emerged. Twisted metal, barely recognizable as a ship, but somehow still in one piece. The Relentless. Or what was left of it. And it was broadcasting. Captain Okonkwo's voice came through the static, broken and faint but unmistakable. This is Relentless to all vessels. We're still here. A pause, and then something that might have been a laugh. Told you, we don't surrender. Yessa started breathing again. She had not realized she had stopped. The humans were still alive. Somehow, impossibly, they were still alive. The surviving Dominion ships did not wait to see what would happen next. When their dreadnought died, something broke in them. Overseer Drell's flagship turned and fled first, its engines burning at maximum as it raced toward the edge of the system. The rest of the fleet followed within seconds, scattering in every direction like frightened animals. Yessa did not order pursuit. Her ships were damaged, her crews were exhausted, and there was something far more important to do. All vessels capable of rescue operations converge on the Relentless debris field, she commanded. Maximum speed. Her fleet responded immediately. Even the most damaged ships pushed their engines hard, racing toward the broken human vessel. They had watched the Relentless sacrifice itself for them. Now it was their turn to help. The wreckage of the human ship was terrible to see. More than half of its hull was simply gone, torn away by the collision and explosion. What remained was a twisted skeleton of metal, barely holding together. Fire still burned in some sections where emergency systems kept atmosphere sealed. In other sections, bodies drifted in the vacuum. Life signs detected, Cora reported, her voice thick with emotion. Multiple clusters throughout the surviving structure. Admiral, there are people alive in there. Get rescue teams over there now. Valorian shuttles launched from every ship in the fleet. They descended on the Relentless like a swarm, attaching to any surface that would hold them. Rescue workers in vacuum suits cut through debris and pulled survivors free. Yessa watched the rescue unfold on her screen. Human crew members emerged from the wreckage in ones and twos. Some walked under their own power. Others were carried by their crewmates. Many were injured, burned, bleeding, broken. But they were alive, and they were still working. Even as Valorian medics tried to treat them, human survivors pushed past and returned to the wreckage. They would not stop searching for their fallen comrades. They would not leave anyone behind. Admiral, Cora said softly, I'm receiving reports from the rescue teams. The humans are refusing medical treatment until all survivors are accounted for. They won't leave their dead either. They're carrying out bodies even when the medics tell them to stop. Yessa closed her eyes. In Valorian culture, the dead were honored but left where they fell. Resources were for the living. But humans, she knew, had different values. To them, every person mattered, even in death. Let them, she said. Help them however we can. The rescue operation lasted 6 hours. When it was finished, the numbers were grim. The Relentless had carried a crew of 400. 217 survived. 183 would never go home. Captain Okonkwo was among the survivors. She had been found in what remained of her bridge, pinned under a collapsed support beam. Both her legs were broken. Burns covered her arms and chest. But she had been conscious when the rescue team reached her, and her first words had been a demand for a crew status report. The survivors were brought to Raneth Station for treatment. The station's medical facilities were designed for refugees, not combat casualties, but the staff worked tirelessly to save every human they could. Yessa walked through the medical bay 12 hours after the battle ended. Human patients filled beds in every room. Some slept. Some talked quietly with station staff. Some simply stared at nothing, processing what they had survived. She found Captain Okonkwo in a private room, sitting up in bed despite doctor's orders. The human's legs were wrapped in regeneration casts, and her arms were covered in healing gel, but her eyes were clear and alert. Admiral Yessa, Okonkwo said when she entered. Thank you for the rescue. My crew and I owe you our lives. Yessa shook her head slowly. Captain, you owe us nothing. You saved 2.3 million people today. My rescue operation was the least I could do. It was our job. Your job. Yessa moved closer to the bed. Captain, you were one ship. You could have stayed at safe distance and called for reinforcements. You could have retreated when the odds became impossible. Instead, you flew into a fleet of 64 warships and rammed a dreadnought. That is not a job. That is something else entirely. Okonkwo was quiet for a moment. When she spoke again, her voice was softer. Admiral, I grew up on Earth, in a city called Lagos. When I was 7 years old, there was a flood. Our neighborhood was underwater. My family was trapped on the roof of our building with dozens of others. We waited for rescue for 3 days. Yessa listened silently. On the third day, a boat came. It wasn't from the government. It wasn't from any official rescue service. It was just people, strangers with a boat who had traveled through the flood zone to help anyone they could find. They didn't know us. They didn't know us anything. But they came anyway. Okonkwo met Yessa's eyes. That's what humans do, Admiral. When someone needs help, we help. It doesn't matter if we know them. It doesn't matter if they can pay us back. It doesn't matter if it's dangerous. We help because that's what people do for each other. Yessa felt something shift inside her. For her entire life, she had been taught that humans were dangerous, unpredictable, not to be trusted. The training files showed their capacity for violence, their stubborn refusal to accept defeat, their ability to survive impossible situations. But the files never mentioned this. They never mentioned that humans would die for strangers, that they would ram their own ship into a planet killer to save people they had never met. You are not what we were taught, Yessa said quietly. Okonkwo smiled. and despite her injuries, there was warmth in it. We never are. 3 weeks had passed since the battle. Raneth Station had transformed from a place of fear into a place of celebration. The refugees who had expected to die now walked the corridors with hope in their eyes. Children played in spaces that had been emergency shelters. Families made plans for futures they thought they would never have. Yessa had been appointed station commander by the Valorian Compact Council. It was an honor she had not expected and was not sure she deserved. But the council had been clear in their reasoning. She had stood against the Dominion when retreat would have been easier. She had fought beside humans when fear would have kept others away. She had earned the right to protect this place. Lieutenant Cora served as her second-in-command now. Together, they had overseen the station's transition from wartime alert to peacetime recovery. It had not been easy. There were wounded to heal, ships to repair, and dead to mourn. But the work was good work, and it gave purpose to those who had survived. The human survivors had stayed. All 217 of them. Captain Okonkwo had offered to have them evacuated to human space for medical treatment, but not a single crew member accepted. They said they wanted to help with repairs. They said they wanted to see the station safe before they left. Yessa suspected there was more to it. The humans had lost 183 of their friends and family in the battle. This station was now connected to those deaths. Leaving would feel like abandoning them. So the humans worked. They helped repair damaged systems. They trained station personnel in emergency procedures. They played with refugee children and taught young adults how to cook human food. They became part of the community without ever asking for anything in return. News of the battle spread across the galaxy faster than light itself. The story of the USS Relentless became legend. A single human warship against 64 enemies. A captain who rammed a planet killer to save strangers. A crew that refused to surrender even when their ship was torn apart around them. Species that had feared humanity began to see them differently. The dangerous deathworlders were still dangerous, yes. But now there was context to that danger. Humans were not monsters. They were protectors. They used their strength to shield those who could not shield themselves. The Dominion felt the change most of all. Their expansion into neutral space had been based on the assumption that no one would stop them. Now that assumption was destroyed. Reports came in from across the sector. Dominion commanders were hesitating before attacking undefended targets. Dominion politicians were arguing for peace negotiations. The memory of 64 ships fleeing from one human vessel haunted their military doctrine that on the 20th day after the battle, a message arrived. The Earth Coalition was sending a permanent defense fleet to protect neutral space and the refugee populations within it. 5 warships, including a replacement for the Relentless, would arrive within the week. They would patrol the region and respond to any threats against civilian populations. They asked for nothing in return. Yessa stood in the station's observation deck, watching the stars. Cora stood beside her, a data pad in her hands. The coalition ships will be here in 3 days, Cora said. Captain Okonkwo has been offered command of the new task force. She accepted. Good. This region needs her. Cora was quiet for a moment. Then she set down her data pad and looked out at the stars alongside Yessa. Admiral, do you remember what the old files said about humans? The warnings we were given in training. I remember. They said humans were dangerous. Unpredictable. Not to be trusted. Cora paused. The files were wrong. Yessa nodded slowly. She had been thinking the same thing for weeks. Everything she had been taught about humans was technically accurate, but completely missed the point. Yes, humans were dangerous. Yes, they were unpredictable. Yes, they refused to accept defeat, but they used those qualities to protect others. They were dangerous to those who threatened the innocent. They were unpredictable because they would make sacrifices that no other species would consider rational. They refused to accept defeat because giving up meant letting bad things happen to good people. No, Yessa said. The files were not wrong. They were just incomplete. What do you mean? The files described what humans are. They never explained why. A shuttle crossed the viewport, carrying supplies from one of the newly arrived cargo ships. The station was recovering. Life was returning to normal, or at least to a new kind of normal. The old instructors called humans wolves, Yessa continued. They meant it as a warning. But they misunderstood. Wolves hunt. Wolves kill. But wolves also protect their pack. And humans have decided that their pack includes everyone. Cora considered this. So what does that make us? The species they protect. Yessa thought about the question. She thought about the 2.3 million refugees behind her, going about their lives because a ship full of humans had refused to let them die. She thought about the Dominion fleet, scattered and defeated because they had underestimated human compassion. She thought about Captain Okonkwo, lying in a hospital bed with broken legs, planning her next mission to help strangers. No, she said finally. Not just protected. We are part of the pack now. And perhaps it is time we started acting like it. Cora smiled. What did you have in mind? Yessa turned away from the viewport. There was work to do. A galaxy to help reshape. A new alliance to build between species that had never trusted each other before. I think, she said, it is time the galaxy had more than just human sheepdogs. I think it is time we all learned to protect each other. Behind them, through the transparent walls of the observation deck, the stars burned on. And somewhere among them, human ships were already moving toward the next crisis, the next group of innocents who needed help. They would never stop. That was the lesson of the relentless. Humans did not stop, and now, neither would Yessa.